Hey, greetings everyone. Welcome back. It's GleeCon, and I'm here again, bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Thank you for joining me, for tuning in. On our last episode, we played through some more Ashenvale. Probably still a couple levels out from wrapping up that Alliance side because we kind of wasted half the episode dying and failing on a mission that was probably just a little bit too powerful for us, but we rallied and ended up polishing off a few more quests in the region. We've also been reading the World of Warcraft Official Magazine, something you cannot find in its entirety unless you order a hard copy from an independent seller, or if you are a watcher, viewer, subscriber of the old Lore of Warcraft channel, we go through it all here. On our last episode that we did this, we kind of looked at a couple things. We talked about some pets. We talked about the, I think kind of gave a preview of sort of what Icecrown Citadel was going to look like, a preview, which is actually kind of cool because that's right about where we are in the Wrath of the Lich King cycle too. So there's some parallels here that are kind of fun. We're kind of in the same life cycle where we are wrapping up Wrath of the Lich King and previewing Cataclysm, which is the same kind of spot where the World of Warcraft Classic experience is right now. So we're going to continue. Stay a while and listen as we jump into this episode. This article that we're going to start with is called Booty Calls. Says, when the loot drops, don't let the spoils of war spoil the party. The raid is over. The boss finally falls. The delicious loot appears, and you're not sure what to do next. Greed and confusion wash over you in equal measure. Is that yours? Is that someone else's? Do I deserve that more than the other people? Or does my alt? Effective loot management is one of the biggest challenges for any raiding guild. There's rarely going to be just one player who wants a particular piece of loot, so how do you ensure that everyone feels that they have a fair chance to win and that people's efforts are recognized and rewarded? Over the years, many different systems and approaches to loot management have evolved. Some are strictly regimented, whereas others are very casual. We talk to a variety of raiders about what works best for them, so you can figure out which one might work for you. All right, so this is probably old hat to a lot of us, but let's just kind of check out what the community of 2009 felt. The Loot Council. I have been part of guilds that do this. I'm assuming if it's what I think it is. Power to the people. The Loot Council system relies on human discretion toward items. A small and select group of players are deemed the Loot Council. There is no point system and no lists are involved. When an item drops, the council weighs the guild's players against the item in question and determines who should get it. The criteria tend to vary from council to council. Some examples include things like attendance. Does this player show up for every raid? Have they had multiple unexplained absences? If a player doesn't play very often, it may not be worth it to the guild to award an item to them. Performance. Are players dealing damage at a level expected of their current gear set? Are they dying in fires multiple times? Are they playing at a high enough level concurrent with the guild? Reward. Did a player do some specific action that enabled a raid to defeat an encounter? For instance, say the main tank goes down during Mimiron's 4th phase in Ulduar. A quick-thinking Death Knight turns on Frost Presence and taunts the boss. The healers keep him alive long enough for the DPS players to finish Mimiron. The heroic save deserves a reward. Biggest upgrade. Sometimes it's a matter of which player would benefit the most from an item. If it's a minor upgrade for most players but a significant upgrade for another, the council will consider sending it to that player. If a loot council is not able to come to a consensus, they can ask for the players involved to do a roll. Another alternative is to give one player, such as the guildmaster, the authority to rule on such cases with no questions asked. Flexibility is a key strength of loot council as opposed to DKP or list-based systems, which are addressed later in this article, so I won't break that down now. Leaders can make the call on awarding loot based on what will help the guild progress the most. For example, the main tank could be given a particular tanking weapon without a second thought if it would help. In other systems, it's not uncommon for a DPS warrior to simply spend their points and pick up a tanking weapon for his or her offset. Also, Loot Council can be one of the quickest ways to settle loot disputes, or it can be one of the slowest. It all depends on the council itself. If only one person wants an item, it's automatically theirs. On items like tier tokens, where many people are interested in it, discussion can take a few minutes. The effectiveness of the system rests entirely on the group of players that comprise the Loot Council. There must be a level of trust and respect between the leadership and the rest of the guild. Without it, there might be the potential for controversy. This system involves players taking a leap of faith with their leaders and possessing a level of understanding. The Loot Council isn't always going to make popular decisions, but with enough faith and some human understanding, it can work very well. I choose you, Loot Council. This is Jen Rickert, whose character is Shabalo on Akama, a U.S. realm, in the Hello Kitty Club, a healing officer and a member of the Loot Council. I guess that looks like what they are, maybe. We have a really good basis for a Loot Council. Our guild leader is amazing, and all our officers are fair and unbiased as one can be when dealing with these kinds of matters. There are always going to be arguments between guildees about who deserves something the most, but that's like any other system. I think it works most for us because of guild trust. If you don't have the trust of your guild or your officers, you're not going to really believe that Loot Council can work. When people believe that loot is distributed fairly and evenly, they're less likely to squabble about what goes where. A lot of our guild members like Loot Council because they don't have to worry about people hoarding or misusing points. It's not just a question of a straight numbers game. They know if they show up and progress with us, they'll eventually get what they need. If they don't get it right away, they don't have to continue stockpiling points and miss out on other items that may benefit them. At the end of the day, we basically try to give as much loot to as great a variety of people as possible. Okay, there's the need greed. Lady Luck may you smile upon me. I feel like this is pretty good, although it does make people determine, like, hey, if I want this for my ult, I can just jump right in on it. If you don't want to fiddle about with complicated rules and systems, use the game's built-in 1 to 100 die rolling need greed system to determine who gets the loot. Couldn't be simpler. When an item drops, players who feel they need the item can click need on the box that pops up to make a random virtual dice roll. Everyone else can press greed so that if nobody needs the item, the greed rollers will have their chance to roll the dice. If nobody needs or greeds the item, it gets given to an enchanter to be disenchanted. And the mats can either be rolled on at the end of the run or put into the guild bank. Because this is one of the most simple and straightforward systems, it's very well suited for use with a pickup group or a group of players that hasn't run together much, as the system leaves very little room for argument. All disputes are settled by a non-partisan random dice roll. What can be more impartial than that? Need Greed fills my needs. Sean Lorraine, who is Safala on the Uther server, Guild Last Call. He's a guild officer. My definition of fairness is splitting loot over the whole guild, not just every night raiders. That way, when we have members come into raids, we have the same average gear, which makes our performance better. If people get loot often, they usually come back. All right, this is DKP, Dragon Kill Points. It dates back to the reptile slaying days of earlier MMOs. It's a simple concept that has proven quite appealing. You raid to earn points, which you can then use as currency to purchase item drops from bosses. Because of the many variants in terms of earning and spending methods, DKP is often one of the most difficult and complicated systems to maintain, but it's still quite popular and clearly time-tested. So different guilds use different criteria for earning DKP. For instance, attendance. By simply showing up on time, a player can earn points. Everyone wants to start on schedule, so it's useful in discouraging tardiness. Time-based. Some systems are based on the exact amount of time a player spends raiding or spends waiting ready on the sidelines, even when the raid is full. This is a useful reward for players who are standing by outside and ready to jump in if their guild needs them. Boss kills. This system rewards the raid performance itself. Every time a raid boss gets taken down, every member earns a flat amount of points. And as you might expect, since there are multiple ways to earn DKP, there are different ways to spend them too. Bidding systems. After an item is dropped from a boss, an auction is held to determine the winner. Bids can be taken either publicly or privately by the loot master. The highest bidder gets the item and forfeits the amount of DKP that they have bid. No bidding systems. Items are designated with set prices. Players with the highest amounts of DKP are given first option on whether they want an item or not. After paying the set price, their DKP is deducted. Okay, so you raid to earn points to purchase item drops, basically. You can do similar, there's lots of similar systems like that. Essentially, it's like a fantasy football does some things like that too. It's like where you have a cap, kind of, except in this instance, you earn it. DKP works for me. Jason Place, named Florthroi on Drendon in the Ethereal Circle Guild. He's the guild master and the DKP administrator. When we first formed a guild, the biggest drama I saw in raiding guilds on our realm was over loot. I wanted a system where everything was above board, where points weren't awarded arbitrarily, and where there could be no reasonable accusations of favoritism from officers or a loot council. I didn't want a loot system where new members can never catch up to the DKP of old members because of huge past balances and point inflation. The actual process of getting loot is just an old-fashioned auction. People keep bidding until whoever wants to pay the most gets it. Once that person wins, the points they spent are divided equally among the other members of the raid. There's a mechanic for pooling leftover points for even distribution later. You have to be present at the raid to get points, thus those who attend more often will still earn more points overall than those who don't frequently, but at the same time it doesn't lock out the people who can't attend all the time, and gives them a decent shot at loot when they're there. Me too, Steve Anchor, Elok, Sisters of Elune, US, is the guild. Apple's guild, officer, DKP administrator. You don't see these guilds anymore. I mean, who knows? Maybe there are some of them are on retail, but most I can't remember seeing any of them. It keeps everyone pretty even. It makes it so even though you might not have the most DKP, if an item drops that you really want, you feel like you have a chance at it since you're willing to risk the most for it. It keeps people pretty motivated. I find it fairly simple to conduct and track DKP after every boss, which is nice for me. DKP is earned with attendance. Attendance points are given to anyone that logs on for raid invites and is on until the raid ends, either in the raid or on standby. People will get 1 DKP for the start of the raid and 1 DKP for the end, and then the occasional bonus DKP will be given for new content. Okay. Suicide Kings, every dog has his day. Suicide Kings doesn't, yeah, this is a little bit of a dated thing. In our guild, suicide is painless. A little bit tone deaf, definitely something from 15 years ago that it's probably just something that wouldn't get published now. It's not like the most terrible thing I've ever read, but I guess let's read more about it. But yeah, this is something I think isn't not as PC as the time goes nowadays. Suicide Kings doesn't rely on a point system, nor does it involve much in terms of human decision making. It uses a list of players to determine who has first dibs on an item when it drops. How is that list created? When a guild decides to use Suicide Kings, all the raiders in the guild roll, which determines their place on the list. The higher the roll, the higher up the list they are. Then when an item drops, the person at the top of the list is asked whether he or she wants it, assuming they can use it, and if not, the choice goes to the next player on the list, and so on until someone takes it. Whoever takes the item is put to the bottom of the list, which is where the term suicide comes in. As time goes on, the distribution evens itself out. New raiders are also go to the bottom of the list, which might initially seem a little off-putting, but it's surprising how fast one can rise up the ranks, and indeed how often people will pass on items because they might be waiting for a specific item, such as a particular weapon. One strong point for Suicide Kings is that the rate at which players acquire gear is evenly distributed across the board. This helps introduce a positive feeling to players. Rewards are constantly handed out, and no one will be left behind. I do kind of like that method, not the name. Kathy Todd Keel, or Keeley, Earthen Ring Elmo, a raid leader. Our group would say we are a casual progression group. We want to gear our characters and kill bosses, but we aren't hardcore or anything. Suicide Kings makes it really easy for the raid leader, and now we have no looting arguments. It allows loot to be distributed in a fair, quick, and easy way by removing the random number generator. This is truly an amazing system, and every group should give it a shot. I mean, I actually do like the sound of it. Like, strategically, it sounds good. Main role, open role. Casual but fair. It seems kind of like Need Greed. Let's see. This is similar to the Need Greed rolling system, but it's a little more formalized with the raid leader or loot master overseeing the proceedings to make sure everything goes smoothly and that loot distribution is fair. Rather than using the game's built-in dice system, players roll manually, usually by typing /rand100, and the result, you can just type /roll, and the results are tallied by hand. Basically, when a piece of loot drops, it's first put up for a main roll. Players can main roll on each item until they've won one. After that, they cannot main roll again for the rest of the run. If nobody main rolls on an item, it goes to open roll. Players can open roll as many times as they want in a run, but once a player has won, other players who've not won anything will have their rolls prioritized over players who've already won something. That means players can win multiple items on a run, but won't clean up if other people are less lucky with their rolls. So this sounds basically like Need Greed, except you're taking control as the master, so that people, because there's no way to like turn off need like once someone's needed once. So it, which you would think the honor system would work for that, but you could have someone abusing it, and this would make it to where they take that abuse out. So it seems almost like this is set up for raids that don't really trust each other. The system isn't particularly complicated. It just needs a raid leader, loot master who's paying attention and taking note of who's won what, so that they can quickly remove roles by players who've already won items from consideration. Name is Matthew Nelson. Character Bull Pucky from Doomhammer, the guild We Are All at Work officer. The system works well with my guild because while we have a solid core of regular raiders, we often bolster our numbers, particularly for 25-person raids with friends from other guilds or even pugs. This means a more formalized DKP or Suicide King system doesn't work because that would exclude people who don't regularly run with us. That makes sense. Main open rolling is pretty self-regulated, so you don't end up with someone with lucky dice walking off with a bunch of loot, but at the same time, it does let people win a ton of stuff if nobody else wants it. That's true. All right, so we've read that article. There you go, just one on loot. How to play the games. Now, I've noticed as I'm still in the scanning process of these magazines. I've scanned the first 2 in, and I'm pretty much done with scanning the third of 5. And one thing I've noticed is they do a kind of an expose in each issue that does the tactics of a particular PvP battleground. So it looks like we're going to get the Isle of Conquest battleground this time. The Horde and the Alliance clash on this tiny resource-laden island in one of World of Warcraft's most intense PvP battlegrounds. Our editors turn to the community to give you their expert insights. It is an island off the northwest coast of Northrend near Icecrown. The capture nodes and assault the enemy's fortress, 40-player teams, kill the enemy's general, or obliterate your opponents until their reinforcements are depleted. I don't even remember Isle of Conquest. I don't think I do this one very much. I don't know that I've hardly done Isle of Conquest at all. I did not PvP. I did a lot of classic Burning Crusade PvP. I've done some more common nowadays PvP. I don't know that I've done tons of Isle of Conquest. Or like PvP zones like in Cataclysm. Whoa. Okay, wanted to refresh. So we're going to, I don't know what. And it switched me back to editing. Okay. Go to viewing. Oh, look, nope, that's not where we're at. Nope. Okay. Oh, here we are. All right, so siege for yourself. 71 to 80. So this is a Wrath of Lich King. Level bracket 71, 79 plus an 80 bracket. Isle of Conquest is a race. The first team to take down a gate wins. I did a lot of like Winter Grasp, but not a lot of this. Mix 1 part Arathi Basin, 1 part Alterac Valley, 1 small island, and stir briskly. Season with siege weapons to taste. Voila, you've got the latest battleground for the Horde and Alliance. Isle of Conquest takes elements from previous battlegrounds and combines them into one fast-paced, explosive struggle for victory. The multiple levels of conflict occurring simultaneously, node capture, resource management, and fortress assault, allow for deep strategies to develop between teams, but can also make the battleground appear intimidating at first glance to new players. That's where this handy look at Isle of Conquest comes into play. Whether you're wondering how you get onto that big flying ship you keep seeing above you, how many seconds it takes for bomb piles to respawn inside the enemy fortress, or which node to focus on capturing first, we've compiled the wisdom, advice, and strategy of World of Warcraft community members who clash on the latest battleground. All right, so this is where I'm a noob. I really don't. I literally, in playing World of Warcraft for almost 20 years, I don't think I've ever done Isle of Conquest. I'm just not a big PvP guy, so I'm sure there are others, but I feel like I've at least dabbled in some. There must be like no non-PvP, because I'm an achievement hunter, but I do not pursue the PvP achievements. Maybe one day I will. So there must be no achievements that are not tied directly into PvP for this. At the start of each match, all of the nodes except the faction starting keep, so each gets a keep, are neutral, waiting to be claimed by members of the Horde or Alliance. Taking a point of interest by assaulting the flag and defending it from attackers not only nets your side a graveyard closer to the front lines, but each node also gives additional benefits to help turn the tide in your favor. Combining the benefits of each of these nodes is central to any successful strategy. Okay, so there's the refinery by the Horde. Provides 1 resource every 30 seconds and 15% siege damage. It's easy for one horde player to grab and defend a refinery right at the start of the battle. The flag is at the top of a goblin-styled oil rig station, making it easy to see non-stealth attackers coming from a distance and call for help or prepare to defend accordingly. Gotcha. The docks. Thanks to the catapults and glide throwers awarded here, the docks is the proverbial gold mine of siege weaponry on this tiny island. Often the most hotly contested point during the beginning rush, there's usually only 4 or 5 players left standing to capture the node out of the initial 50 or so headed there. The vehicles arrive by ship and will appear near the water's edge. That's cool. Oh, they're kind of giving a color key. Catapult spawn locations are in brown. Oh, makes me think like the refineries there. Glide thrower spawning locations are in orange. I don't see any. Siege engine spawns right there by the horde, and there's one over there. Bomb spawning locations they don't show, so it must be on the other half of the map. Gunship docking, I don't see any. Turrets available. Glide thrower attack spot, I don't know what that means. Catapult launch spot, there's difference in pink. Maybe those are catapult launches as opposed to reds. And demolisher spawn. The Alliance keep. Gray stone, gold edges, and a distinct lack of tusks or green skin among its citizens marks this mighty fortress as the Alliance starting point and Horde end goal for the battleground. The Horde and Alliance keeps are identical in layout and defenses, including matching generals, holed up inside the keep's inner sanctum. I see. Within the text, I see there are 12 turrets available, 4 bomb spawn locations. I gotcha. Now I can see the key. 2 glide throwers, 4 catapult spawns in that one. Nothing in the refinery. Okay. The Horde keep. Black iron, spiky walls, and bright red banners must be a Horde base. Horde players prepare for the battle within their keep's walls. Turrets perched on the keep's towers repel attackers, while teleporters lining the base of its walls allow defenders to move in and out of the keep with ease, giving them a tactical advantage. The workshop. The second largest producer of siege weapons and the central point of interest in IOC, the workshop is hotly contested. Demolishers are handy for assaulting enemy walls and ferrying allies into enemy territory, but the big threat is the siege engine produced after one side controls the workshop for 3 minutes. Hangar. There. So siege engines in the direct center. Gotcha. The Horde and Alliance can now duke it out in the air. Isle of Conquest is the first battleground to take the war to the skies. Whoever controls the hangar has access to their faction's gunship and all the turrets and parachutes on board as it flies between the enemy base and the hangar to refuel. Other than launching yourself in a catapult from the docks, parachuting from the gunship is the only way to get inside the enemy keep before the wall is breached. Oh, you can catapult yourself. Quarry produces 1 resource every 30 seconds and 15% siege damage, frequently the first node grabbed by Alliance characters. The resource rewards will rarely be a game maker or game breaker, but the siege damage bonus is a big aid in the race to break down the enemy keep's walls, especially if you're able to capture the quarry and refinery for a total 30% siege damage bonus. Alright, the weapons of war, how best to use each of the 5 siege weapons to your advantage. Catapult uses an unusual type of ammunition, U. Stealth by the other team and launch yourself over the enemy keep's wall, so rogues, and druids can do it. Siege engine, the hard-hitting battering ram of the group. Send in the siege engine fully manned to keep gate your team is attacking. To the keep gate, your team is attacking to crush it into submission. Glide thrower. If ninjas were siege weapons, they'd be glide throwers. Hide them in the hills and hurl their giant ninja stars at the enemy's gate from outside the range of keep turrets. Demolisher, part siege engine, part glide thrower. The Demolisher hurls flaming boulders and rams keep gates, drive it into the fray. And gunship and keep turrets. Both types of turrets do massive fire damage from a stationary location, but keep turrets can also light whole patches of ground on fire. I think I've read about some of this stuff. It seems cool. Operation Death from Above. Take to the skies and coordinate a devastating air raid to tear apart the enemy keep from within. When defending your keep, you need players on the inside to kill enemies that sneak in, and players outside to kill the often unprotected catapults that they're going to get inside. Gains Duraton. Defense, man the turrets on the top of your keep's wall and take out any player or siege vehicles that get within range. If enemies destroy a turret, it only takes a few seconds to repair it back to full strength. That's cool. General advice. Unlike Alterac Valley, the additional troops inside the general's room are non-elite and go down very quickly with a large group of players assaulting the keep at once. Players with area of effect attack should focus on taking down the adds at the start of the fight before shifting solely to the general. This will also give the tank additional time to build threat. So I guess threat management is still a pretty big thing with Wrath. It's been a while since I've done it, and I was never a tank back then. Nowadays, it's like a gimme. It's not even an issue. The tanks just auto have threat. The generals themselves are not nearly as tough as their Alterac Valley counterparts. 8 to 10 players should be able to kill them easily, but you'll still need a tank and some healers to mitigate the general's damage while you chew through its 799,798 HP. I mean, now you fight like just regular, normal, elite spawns, and they have like 11 million on Dragonlands. Yeah. At the beginning of the match, half of your team goes to the docks. This is step 1. The other half goes to the hangar. One player carries quarry or refinery, depending on faction. Then step 2, the docks team isn't expected to capture the node, but should kill enough enemy players to limit the initial wave assaulting your keep. Players who die should focus on defense, with as many of the 12 available turrets as possible firing at enemy players and vehicles. And 3, the hangar team should leave a couple players behind to guard the flag while the rest board the gunship. While 5 stay on board to man the turrets, the rest parachute into the enemy base to bomb the gate from within. Okay. One way to do it, large Sephorium bombs in the side gate equals a win. Zenburn, Bloodscalp US. The hangar gunship does a lot of damage to enemy players inside the keep. Dazen, Blackrock US. It's kind of showing like a where you would come like at an arrow. Bombs safety in you. Inside the enemy keep, there are some things you should know. Do plant bombs at the target gate as often as possible. Bomb piles reappear 10 seconds after someone picks them up. Don't get distracted by enemy players fighting inside or plant bombs at a different gate than the rest of your team is attacking. Do give your life defending a ticking bomb until it detonates in a fireball of glory. It takes 10 seconds for a bomb to go off once it's planted. Don't suicide run just to plant a bomb. Enemies will flick you aside and disarm the bomb before it explodes. An indirect benefit of holding the hangar is knowing that the only way players are getting inside your base is by launching from catapults, so you know their strategy and can be ready to counter it. Second opinion, always take the docks for the glide throwers. You can take down a gate very fast with 2 glide throwers and both the quarry and refinery giving a 30% siege damage bonus. Then capture the enemy keep and rush it to kill the general. That will win 100% of the time. Ima Arresto, kill Jade US. The hangar sucks. As soon as you capture it and go into flight, you lose the node. But if you waste people defending the node, you can't pull off the attack inside the keep. The enemy will be able to divide and conquer, as they say. Zerg the middle, capture the docks, and catapult over the wall. Jimboey. Okay. While defenders focus on destroying glide throwers and enemies within the keep, the offense focuses turret fire and bomb planting on the front gate, which is the gate most exposed to the gunship's turrets. Killing enemy players within the keep is necessary. That's step 4. Step 5, with an effective assembly line of bombers and all 5 turrets manned, your team should breach the enemy's wall in just a few gunship passes. 6, when the wall is breached, the gate to the central structure will open. Rush in and kill the general with a group of at least 8 to 10 players, and celebrate accordingly. Operation Surf and Turf. So that's one strategy. That is basically if you decide that you want to use the plane or the gunship, that's your strategy. Operation Surf and Turf. Tear into the enemy keep with a strong unified siege vehicle, push from the docks and workshop. So, with the glide throwers and catapults, you can attack the west wall without getting hit by the turrets. That's Dazen again. So you lead from here. Expect to take heavy casualties capturing and holding the docks, but the rewards will be well worth it. After holding the workshop for 3 minutes, a siege engine will spawn for your team. Make getting this manned into the west gate a priority. Check up on the hangar from time to time to see if it's well defended. If you can capture it, you'll pin the enemy team inside their base. That's the bomb run. The first step is capturing the docks and the workshop. At the start of the game, send 10 to 15 players to the workshop in the middle of the map. 1 player captures the quarry or refinery, alliance or horde respectively, and the rest go directly to the docks on the west coast of the island. 2, after the docks are captured, players ride the catapults and glide throwers to their designated attack areas near the enemy keep's west wall. Another way to do it, docks, and more docks, shipwrecked, stone mall. Try to take the quarry and the refinery to make your assault on the enemy keep go 30% faster. Emo Resto. 3, 5 players stay to defend the workshop while the rest pile into demolishers and join up with the docks team outside the enemy keep. Be sure to defend the vehicles. It does say, try not to fight in front of the enemy base, but if you must, force the fight to where their turrets can't blast rockets at you from above. It's tempting to jump off the hangar cliff onto the roof of the workshop and shoot and heal people from up there. Don't do it. You get plus 10 style points and extra protection against... Oh, do it. Do it. You get plus 10 style points and extra protection against enemy melee. Getting greedy and trying to take all 3 main nodes at the beginning spreads your forces thin. Too thin. Shenburn. Try to take the quarry and the refinery. Oh, I read that. Glide throwers assault the west gate from their protected attack location marked on the map on pages 50 and 51. Remain careful to stay out of the line of sight of enemy turrets. 5 players stay back to protect the glide throwers and the catapults. The remaining players use the catapults to launch inside of the enemy keep's walls. Once inside, they grab a bomb from the bomb piles in front of the central building and plant it at the west gate. Keep planting bombs until the gate is destroyed. When the wall is breached, the gate to the central structure that houses the general will open. Rush in and kill the general with a group of at least 8 to 10 players. Second opinion? Stick with the workshop and hangar. The game revolves around siege engines and demolishers, and the gunship turrets can do a lot of damage from above. Okay. DJK. The hangar is the most vital link. If you can maintain control of the skies, victory is usually near. Twilight Horn. Yeah, so you do hear both. All right, so that was it for that article. I think, okay, even though we've been a little bit over half an hour, let's maybe read one more, a community one. This is got a gnome. It looks like she's taking down a Tauren. It's kind of cool picture with his tongue out. And she looks crazy. That's a good art. Okay, so this is a community section again. It's called Their Own Rewards, Crowning Achievements. Oh, this sounds like my bread and butter here. They don't help you in combat. They don't make finishing quests any easier. They're just tiny points of personal pride. So why do folks love achievements so much? This sounds corny, but it's true. Playing World of Warcraft is its own reward. In fact, the game was thoroughly enjoyable for years before achievements joined the mix with Echoes of Doom, patch 302. But that doesn't mean we give up those achievements either. Azeroth has a lot to offer. What's the downside to having a personal, flexible yardstick for your progress? Achievements are basically little friendly dares. Bet you can't do this, says the game. Bet you I can, you reply. Some players choose to seek them out, others collect them by happy accident. But it's hard not to earn achievement for something, and more often than not, it makes you smile. Of course, some players are more dedicated than others. We met 2 players who have crossed the hallowed 10,000 point barrier, Sean Vosk Diamond and Jonathan Lollipoppy Cake Wolf, to find out how they became achievement royalty. I don't think that 10,000 point barrier is quite I don't think it's a big deal anymore at all. You were 2 of the first people in the entire world to have 10,000 achievement points. What drove you to get so many? Was it a goal from the start? Most people I know only focus on one aspect of the game, but I enjoy Ulduar, the Ring of Valor, and Warsong Gulch almost equally. Second, I'm a completionist. When I'm leveling, I absolutely positively must wipe out every quest before I move to the next area. As a side effect of those 2 factors, I end up with a hefty number of achievement points naturally. It wasn't a conscious goal from the beginning, but somewhere around the 7,000 point mark, I started seeking out achievements to complete. It took about 10 months to build my throne of nerd points. And this is Lollipoppy Cake. Ever since I started playing, I would do things like earn reputations, level up professions, collect mounts and pets, participate in world events. Basically, I was already doing what the achievement system asked you to do long before it came into existence. The real push for me to really start going crazy for achievements began when the Wrath of the Lich King beta came out. I copied my character to the public test realm, then starting looking at what achievements could be done before the system came out and began completing as many as I could. Yeah, see, I'm not that meta. Which achievement was the hardest to obtain? The main thing about getting achievements is finding people who are willing to spend the time trying to accomplish them. Most of them just take time. For example, getting 100 victories in a battleground simply requires you to play that battleground. While you work towards your 100 victories, you should manage to get most of the other achievements for that particular battleground. As far as the dungeon achievements go, you have to convince the raid to try them, and that is something that can be difficult to do since most of them involve the group putting in some extra effort. One of the hardest achievements to obtain is the Immortal, an achievement that requires a raid to complete 25-player Naxxramas without anyone dying on a boss. What makes it hard is that you want to get it, but then someone messes up a fight in some way that you've never had happen. So then you try to learn from that mistake and wait until next week to try it again, only to end up having someone else die to something different. The boss fights in the instance have multiple ways to kill people, and the worst part about this particular achievement is that you can make it all the way to Kel'Thuzad, in which there are numerous ways for a player to die. This other guy says Gladiator has the highest skill requirement and probably one of the highest time investments required. To earn Gladiator, you have to be level 80 and in the top 0.5% of your battle group at the end of an arena season. Yeah, it's never going to happen for me. When you factor in the time necessary to develop a working relationship with your teammates and the fact that you can only get Gladiator once every season, it's hard to compare any of the other achievements with it. Insane in the Membrane is one achievement I don't have, do not have, and never plan to acquire. I don't have it either. I have so many, I don't have that one. Insane in the Membrane requires you to simultaneously be exalted with all the Goblin factions while honored with the Bloodsail Buccaneers. Even for 100 points, I'd still have a hard time convincing myself to go for it. I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. It would just take so much strategic grinding. The most difficult achievement for me personally was probably winning the Booty Bay fishing contest on my realm for Master Angler of Stranglethorn. I don't have that one either. It took me 12 weeks before I managed to pull it off. Between Horde jumping on mounts in my pools, Alliance assaulting me, and low-level Horde mobbing the area I was in, I had a heck of a time. Yeah. I think it's probably a little easier now because it's not as crowded. I do have some other good ones. Just for instance, up until Dragonflight, I have every quest achievement in the game. I have, so of the quest category, now some new ones have come out that I haven't quite stayed on top of. I have pretty much every exploration achievement in the game. Again, not up until around Shadowlands. There's a couple I don't have. So, actually, you know what? For exploration, there's the Nazjatar ones where you have to get the bag or whatever. I can't remember what it's called, but you have to get like the super rare drop from the rare spawns, and you need every single one. There's a Timeless Isle version too, but that one's a lot easier to get. I have that one. The Nazjatar one that's one of the few ones I don't have on exploration, minus the newest ones that have come out. So I have a lot because of that. I have a lot of the easy dungeon ones, but I don't have all of them. I have very few PvP. So I just have a lot of other random ones. All right, Sean Diamond, Vosk, a Tauren warrior on Mal'Ganis, a student, 23. Leet's biggest gaming pet peeve, Leet speak drives me crazy. Lulz pwned, you noob. Favorite things to do, running Battlegrounds with a couple of healers is always entertaining. Jonathan Wolf, character info Lolly Pokecake, an undead rogue on Forgotten Coast, 19 students. See, that's a huge difference. 19 and 23-year-olds don't play the game anymore. No, it's the same people. Those people are still playing, but they're like me now, and they're like 40. People who feel the need to log on to my realm to tell me how I've wasted my time and tell me how much they hate me for no logical reason. Favorite thing to do, raiding new content and getting to kill new bosses. I now view the game as one giant playground. What was the craziest thing you've done to get an achievement? I got, for the Horde, at level 70 on Frostmain, where Alliance had a player advantage, there were strong rivalries between factions such that guilds were determined to prevent the faction leaders from dying. We would go into one of the Alliance cities at around 1 to 2 a.m. realm time, and around 60 Alliance would come wipe our raid. On one of the nights that we were going for the King of Ironforge, he was guarded by about 100 Alliance all waiting for us. To try to get them to go away, everyone logged off for about an hour, but when we checked back, most of them were still there, so we decided to meet back in 3 more hours. And amazingly, we got 40 of our people back online in the wee hours in the morning and found a much more manageable group of Alliance to battle. The fight took a long time due to the bosses being level 80 and mitigating most of our damage, but once we managed to kill the king, we decided to make sure everyone in the group got their mount, so we went and killed the other 3 bosses. I don't have that yet. I do not have For the Horde. People don't really run that as much anymore. I think it's a bit harder now. I mean, there's some really crazy achievements that have stuck in my mind for their memorableness. I'll just try to name 2 or 3 since this is my jam here. In the Timeless Isle, there is a PvP achievement that you can get for killing. There's like an instance that you can use, and it requires timeless things to buy it. It has a 1-hour cooldown, but it lasts for an hour. I think something like that. I might be a little bit off. It might be like a 15-minute cooldown with a 15-minute last or something. I don't remember. Or it might be like it's something to that effect. I don't remember. But if you die, you lose the buff, but you keep the cooldown restriction. So you don't want to die, and you have to kill, I believe it's 1,000 to get 1,000 honor kills. That one took a long time. That one took some help from friends to just let me kill them over and over and get some of it that way. What a long, strange trip it's been, getting all the achievements. That took a long time because there were probably, I started going for it maybe like I got it about a year ago, and I started going for it a few years before that. But every now and then I just hit one where I'd get stuck up against the wall and I didn't feel like doing it. And then once you do that, you're waiting another year at least. So, of course, the Lore Master achievements, getting all of those aren't really hard. Earning all of the flight ones are entertaining. There's definitely been some grinding with that. All the Firelands achievements, getting all of the Firelands achievements, that was tough a while ago. Yeah, there's just there are some ones too that just are more memorable to me, even though they maybe weren't like necessarily the hardest. There's a lot of interesting achievements in Warlords of Draenor with like killing things in certain ways or doing just random things that are tough. In Azshara, there's this challenge where you do like an ice, a fire, and a shadow. And even though they're not the most hard things, it was just really memorable getting those achievements. Of course, now I focus a lot on getting the golds in the dragon racing achievements. That's a fun for me. You can get you can stack up achievement points with that. Getting exalted with the mushroom guy to get fun guy or fun gal is fun in Shadowlands. All right, what's the appeal of achievement anyway? Simply put, most of them are fun. Take Earth, Wind, and Fire. This achievement requires you to kill Archivon, Corellon, and Emelon within 60 seconds of one another in the Vault of Archivon. It's a logistical challenge. First and foremost, you should have this many tanks to counteract this ability. This amount of healing to counteract this ability. Yeah, see, that's easy now, because now you can one-shot all of those bosses, so those achievements are easy. All 3 bosses have an enrage timer, so there's a DPS requirement. Once you've got your planning all figured out, you've got to actually convince the proper people to come in and perform, so it's a social challenge as well. Then lastly, because of the requirements, your team has to play pretty well to succeed. Figuring it all out, organizing it, and then executing it is immensely satisfying. Beyond that mental gratification, the rewards are pretty nice. Having a cool-looking mount or an awesome title always adds to the playing experience. Everyone likes to show off when they've done something difficult. That's true. Oh man, there's soloing some of the raids. I want to say it's one of the raids on Legion, maybe. What's that other place you go to in Legion where it's another planet? I can't remember it right now, but it's got the spaceship flying around, and it's got 3 zones. Acheron, I can't remember what it's called. Soloing some of those raids in Shadowlands was very challenging. The competitive aspect of it also entertained me. I went to BlizzCon with a group of friends and played Warsong Gulch against another 10 players in the community tournaments area. After we crushed them, we had about 15 minutes before the next team showed up, so with these blank pre-made characters that had no achievements at all, we had a race. Get the most achievement points possible, armed with 5,000 gold, 1 Hearthstone, and 15 minutes. I ended up with a couple mounts, a pet, a haircut, Crystal Song Forest Explored, a gigantic bag, and a few others. Maybe 400 points all said and done. It was an absolute blast. That's pretty cool. To a degree, I play that out on a grander scale on the live realms. It's a competition between myself and the other top achievers to get the highest score. However, in the last few months, we've all pretty much complicated all the available achievements, or completed all of them. The only thing that's left are the harder rating achievements, so it's become a competition between guilds. The flip side to this is a sense of responsibility. I represent my guild, and to a degree, the U.S. realms. I have to do well. That's cool. Yeah, see, I've never been like that. There's some parts that I am, but I just don't. That's where it turns off for me. At the end of the day, I do have to treat this like a guild, not a responsibility. I mean, like a game, not a responsibility. And I just won't do that. I won't sacrifice my own life or neglect like exercise or other habits to hobbies. Like I try to read a decent amount every day. I play other games other than WoW. I make these show. I don't want to neglect any of them because I feel an obligation to a game. The case against. I must be a miserable git, but I don't want to really pay much attention to the vast majority of achievements. The ones that reward mounts or titles are more attractive, and of course the raid achievements are a real badge of honor, but achievements like kill X numbers of critters seems like a complete waste of time to me. If there were more tangible rewards for doing the achievements, I would be far more inclined to do them. Spectrus, a blood elf priest on Steam Weedle, who has 2,735 achievement points. Are there any achievements that you think are missing that you hope will be included in the future? With guild-based achievements coming soon, the only thing missing is some type of bonus to players who have a certain number of achievement points. I think it would be cool to add a feat of strength for hitting certain milestones in achievement points. I don't know. I don't think that's a thing. I'd love to see class-specific PvP or PvE achievements, something like interrupt 100 enemy casts with pummel. Now that's in Diablo 4, they have that kind of stuff in there. Spell reflect a mage's polymorph, little things that help people learn about their class. How specifically have achievement points changed the way you play the game? I now view the game as one giant playground in which to acquire achievements. So when I'm in Worldsong Gulch, I calculate how we can integrate achievement point acquisition with winning. Oh, Cuzzy, there were some other things. The number one commenter and viewer here that I gotta shout out to. When there were some things I just couldn't remember that I wanted to talk about, and this I gotta throw it in right here. When I was thinking about what the video I watched the other day, one of the things that the guy said in the video, and I don't know why your comment made me think of this, but the way that World of Warcraft was played in Classic, and you know, that trying to figure out and nail down what is the appeal, why is it so appealing? It's not like it's an infinitely superior product, and I think the guy nailed it. It's because in Classic, leveling from 1 to 60 is the game. Sure, are there some final kind of boss raids and stuff at the end? Yeah, totally. A few. And that's kind of like the final boss fights. But leveling up and playing the game is the game. As soon as you hit the Burning Crusade, everything before Burning Crusade or whatever current X-Pack you're on simply becomes a means to an end instead of the game. And now playing the game is playing this much more condensed expansion. And that is something that even Dragonflight does not solve. At the end of the day, you are still wiping everything. Now, it's still all there to play, but it's you're playing it for a half a second because you level up so fast now, or you're going back overpowered and playing it for completionist or achievement reasons. There's nothing else. That difference is, I think, the biggest thing. And the guy said, like, when I used to play, I didn't spend all my time once I hit 60 making, like, just grinding raids to try to get the best gear or grinding, you know, Stratholme or whatever. I just made a level 60 of every class. And that's always what I've done too. I like the journey. I like the powering up. I like the exploring. That's what's fun to me about the games. Not just grinding. And Diablo, this is where Diablo 4 has lost me a little bit. Once you get into like Torment 4, the only thing you can do is just run Nightmare Dungeons or whatever they're called, the Ancestral Nightmare Dungeons. Just run them over and over. over and over. That's it. That's all you can do, and try to get to level 100. And it takes so long, like just 10 dungeons or whatever to level up minimum. So I'm gonna probably give next season. I'm not gonna finish this. I'm not gonna get to 100 this season. I'm 80 something, but just I don't play enough. I'd have to put in more time than I'm willing to put in. I'd have to put in a few hours a day at least, and I'm not going to do that. Next season, I'm going to give it a really hard go to complete everything from the beginning, because next season starts in a couple weeks, and then I'm going to really fade off of it and just casually play it and try to get back into World of Warcraft. And Tears of the Kingdom, I have been very casually playing that, but mostly just hunting Korok seeds, and I felt like 100 or something. But I'm going to go hard on that, and then get back into catching up on World of Warcraft, since we're going to be in the second half of Dragonflight's lifetime. Yeah, so when I'm in Warsong Gold to calculate how we can integrate achievement points acquisition with winning, my friends and I killed the enemy flag characters in the base for progress on Supreme Defender. And if there wasn't the Spore Loser achievement, I don't think too many people would even care to try and kill Lotheb without using the spores. I'm always trying to convince players in my guilds that we should try certain fights in different ways. Do you think achievement points distract from or enhance the core gameplay? This is a complex issue. If you look at achievements as a reward for doing things that you're already doing, they're phenomenal. However, take the dedicated few as an example, where you're rewarded for defeating the Nax bosses with 20 players in your group instead of 25. If you happen to be short a few people for a week and underman a boss, it's a nifty challenge and a cool reward. But having a full raid and forcing people out of it because you want the achievement, not quite so cool in my opinion. There are some achievements that are just, they go to me counter to what makes the game fun. They're just ridiculous. So achievements are a double-edged sword, but I feel the system adds more than it detracts. That's how I feel. I ultimately feel that way too, but there's definitely some achievements where it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, why would you make... Why? Or they just have such a ridiculous, like some of the ones, like, oh my gosh, what's it called? Rare or something about medium rare, bloody rare, where you have, it took me so long. I had to download mods. I mean, I didn't try it every single day, but it took me so long to get that achievement because you're camping the rares. Some of them would appear like once a week. It was just painful. Painful. For like nothing. You don't get a title, you don't get anything. I believe that overall achievements enhance gameplay, but he's not getting any older. The 7-minute Yogg-Saron kill or Lumberjack, which wants you to take down Freya's 3 elders in 15 seconds in Ulduar, pretty much require you to throw away your chances of getting hard mode loot from that encounter, which is a bad thing for guilds that enjoy doing achievements, but also want to gear up their raiders with the best gear available to them. However, it looks as though Blizzard is aware of this issue with the introduction of separate instances for easy and hard mode so that guilds can earn their gimmick mechanic achievements for a boss on easy mode and still have a shot at it in hard mode. Yeah, like heroic, I think is how they do it now. I look forward to seeing how the system will evolve with time. Yeah, and that's totally, but now you get the achievements for heroic and mythic. 4 quick and easy achievements. Minesweeper, get caught in 10 consecutive landmine explosions in the Spark Sprocket minefield without landing. That is not a quick and easy achievement. That is a pain. If you get lucky, sure. That achievement is annoying. Enter the minefields outside K3 and Storm Peaks and be prepared to be tossed around like a potato sack. It helps if you have an instant heal ability. Yeah, it's not fun. Critter Getter. Using critter bites, coerce 10 critters to be your pet within 3 minutes or less. Well, yes, but you have to learn the recipe for critter bites and then make them. So, not as easy as they're saying, although that's a cool gnome. Create your very own, very temporary, and very useless army of critters. Hint, try the rats inside Deep Run Tram, or the pigs outside Orgrimmar. Oh, that's cool. Otherwise, swim or fly out to the penguins in Borean Tundra or Howling Fjord. Friend or fowl, slay 15 turkeys in 3 minutes. That one's not too hard. Find the Gobble Gobbles in Howling Fjord, but don't expect them to take your senseless act of poltricide sitting down. And going down, that's the easiest achievement in the game. Sure, you could jump off cliffs until you get lucky, but we'd recommend heading to Shatrith City and leaping off the elevator to the Squire's Tier. Also, they're like right away in Darnassus. There's like a tower you can jump down and you'll be fine. All right. And this is another article. We're going to stop here, even though it looks like it's from the last one. It is somebody that won $6,000. It's a Meet the Champ, some other community recognition thing. But we're going to stop there because we've been going on about an hour here. Thank you, everybody. We have another episode in the Pipe 5x5. I hope you're enjoying our journey through this magazine with me. I've been enjoying it. Kind of fun. A little bit of lore here and there, and just lore in the meta sense that this is the lore of us as we've played the game through the years. Thanks, everybody. We got another episode in Pipe. I probably already said it. Bye.